What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Why We Love PlayStation VR. Sitting across from me this weekend, pretty much every week.
Almost every week.
Back from the dead, it's Desra.
And sitting across from me, of course, is Brian Paul.
Hey, and every week on Why We Love PlayStation VR, we pull out a PlayStation VR game from the archive, one of the older games, a retro PlayStation VR game, if that's a thing. Is that a thing?
Ancient game. Yeah, sure.
It's a thing now.
I mean, if you just like stretch out the lifespan of the PlayStation, yeah.
Yep. And we take a look at it. Sometimes we say, hey, did this game age well over time now that we've played a bunch of new games? Did it stand the test of time? And sometimes these games have been patched and given some love by the developers. And maybe they're better than they were at launch. Mm-hmm. And so that's what we're here to decipher, determine, figure out. Adjectives. That being said, what game do we decide to talk about this week, Desiree?
This week we're talking about and I think this definitely counts as one of the classics, Out of Ammo.
What classifies Out of Ammo as a classic?
I don't know. I was thinking more in the term of like classic car. Like, you know, it's an old game. It's been around for a while.
That old? Well, it came out January 30th of this year.
It feels like it.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes, it came out in January for PSVR, but it's older than that as far as the.
Yeah, it came out originally on the Vive in 2016.
Right. So it's old. It's new to us, but old to.
It's got some old roots.
Yes.
In spoilers, it kind of feels like it. This was published by Zen Studios. Now, for this being kind of a low-budget game, I was pretty surprised to see Zen Studios' name attached to it.
Yes.
Because Zen is really well known for, you know, their really polished games. Castle Storm VR was one of our favorites. Very recently, they just updated Zen Pinball FX2 VR. Man,
FX2, I love that movie.
A lot of letters stuff.
Brian Dennehy. Oh, yeah.
Is that a thing?
Yeah, Brent. Yeah, I think he was in that. Okay. FX2, yeah.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Okay, anyways.
There are people out there being
Hi, Brian.
Yeah, you're so cool. And they're like, Brian, you're kind of a moron for not knowing what that is. But, of course, it wasn't developed by Zen Studios. And that's where all the difference comes from.
Yes.
It was actually developed by a development team called RocketWorks. You familiar with RocketWorks?
I am not, but unless it's a team of, like, high school juniors, there's a lot of questions I need answered now. But...
Okay, well, it's strangely not a team of high school juniors. Seniors.
Sophomores.
It's
whatever.
actually seniors. It's founded by a guy named Dean Hall.
Hi, Dean.
And Dean Hall, strangely, was the creator of DayZ, the Arma 2 mod.
Oh.
Which became wildly successful.
Right, yeah.
And he left the company that was working on that to create RocketWorks. And the first project that they announced, to my limited knowledge of RocketWorks, is a game called Ion.
Ion.
And it was actually debuted, so this is a pretty big deal, on Microsoft's E3 stage in 2016.
Oh, wow. Those big boys.
Yeah, right? And it was supposed to be this, the pitch for it reminded me of like No Man's Sky, where it was like just, it's a game that's not a game, it's an endless, array of space, and you can travel forever, and galaxies, etc. It got canceled.
Yeah. As like you do.
Like you do. And so then Out of Ammo was their next project.
Yeah. So Out of Ammo, it is a kind of a mashup of two genres of game, and two of my favorites, truth be told. So this should have been like, well...
surefire winner is what we're saying.
Absolutely, you're right.
It's a 1. You can just turn it off now. Des, give this game a 1.
It's a real-time strategy game combined with a first-person shooter. At least that's what they advertise it as. I do have some questions about how they categorize it.
Okay.
But the idea is you are in control of a number of units, and it's basically kind of generic soldiers that become a unit once you give them a certain weapon.
Right.
So there's semi-automatic pistols, there's automatic rifles, sniper rifles, rocket power grenades, your typical mix and match of weapons. And the way the main gameplay happens is you have sort of a god mode where you can place sandbags or sniper towers or things like that, and then assign your troops to them, and then waves of enemies come at you. But at any point you can take control of one of your units and see the world from their point of view, which is where the first-person shooter part of it comes in, and then go ahead and shoot and fire and do all that wonderful stuff until you are out of ammo, and then that character is now in a cooldown period, and you have to jump to somebody else.
That's where the name comes from.
I think so, yeah.
I always just die before I run out of ammo. Yeah. So yeah, two very different parts of the same game.
Yes.
Because when you're in God mode, or I think the game calls it Commander mode,
Right.
you're basically there, and wave after wave of enemy it comes and attacks your military base. And between each wave, a helicopter comes flying by, drops a bunch of supplies.
Yes.
And you decide where on the base you want to drag these supplies to build the structures you mentioned.
Right.
And then, yeah, you assign different people that are standing around in a state of, it seems, comatose.
Absolutely, yes.
If you don't assign somebody to
there is no
job,
default action.
They just stand there with Z's over their head, which is
mind-boggling.
We
will take a step back. If you're like me, you have some scaling issues with this game, you do have to fish around, but relatively where your kidneys are to pick up the stuff. And yes, you can reset yourself and move around a little bit, but we'll get into that.
Yeah, so you're building these structures. You're repairing these structures. You're trying to keep your base from complete disrepair.
Right.
And you're trying to see how long you can last.
And that's it. There's no greater strategy. There's no greater, like, okay, you need to last this long, or you need to take this place on the field, which is where I kind of question the real-time strategy aspect of it. It's a wave shooter, honestly. Or a tower defense, I guess is a better way to put it. You set up your guys, waves of enemies come at you, and oh yeah, you survive that wave. Then more come, then more come, then more come, until eventually you get overrun and you lose.
Yeah, because eventually that's just what happens.
Yes.
There's 8 different locations you can do this in.
Locations, not levels, not
right,
just locations.
So so let's back up a little bit.
Yeah.
You start the game up and you're in this little base, right? You're in this you're in this base, and over on one wall there's a bunch of options. You can actually an update came out on February 16th about.
I will want to point this out. I don't know if it's different for everyone else, but you start up, and instead of facing the wall that has the options, you're just facing kind of sort of like a shooting range, and there's all the weapons there. So unless you really like scope out the room first, you think, oh, this is the game, great, and you just pick up the guns and you fire those, and like, okay, not particularly exciting, but this is interesting, I guess, shooting gallery. But then eventually you realize, oh, I need to turn over to the back and to the left, and there's the actual menu board. And of course, the first thing top left-hand corner, according to Western culture, that should be the first thing you do. That's the tutorial, right? No. The tutorial is all the way in the bottom left, and actually, from what I remember, the smallest of all the different. You kind of like pick up a page off the board and put it into like sort of the active. This is what I want to do, and the smallest of all of them is the tutorial. So. Way to go, guys.
Yeah, there are definitely some design decisions that we're going to question here tonight. So the other, also in this room, there is a board of actual options where it's like you decide, hey, do you want to have smooth turning? Do you want to have full locomotion?
Right.
Do you want to have teleportation? Do you want to have smooth teleportation? And I got to say, none of these options were actually there at the beginning. It was all teleportation and massive click turning and no smooth click turning. It wasn't anything like that.
Can we talk about the click turning?
We can talk about the click turning.
The implementation of the click turning, if you want to turn left, it's on the left stick. So this is using the move controllers.
Yeah.
Sorry. If you want to turn right, it's on the right one.
Yeah.
Not like every other game that has click turning where there's some combination.
Movements on one, we move around, and then turning's on the other one.
Sure.
It's not here.
Yeah. So you constantly have to remember, it's like, okay, I want to turn left. Oh no, I have to hit that.
Yeah, and to make matters worse, for me, I am 100% about full locomotion, smooth turning. As I want to be as immersed in these games as possible. I don't get motion sickness, so that's the first thing I do is I go to check the options and I smooth turning, full locomotion, the whole deal. And so that's what I did. Like the last time I played this game, it didn't have these options, so I was kind of excited to check it out.
Right. Yeah.
So I go and I turn these things on, and I'm realizing, okay, there's a little bit of like the controls aren't ideal, but it took me a second just to kind of get used to which button I had to push to move around, and it does have like that sort of aim where you want to walk Skyrim feel. But then the left turn button, you have to take your button off the walk button and then turn. And so you can't walk and turn at the same time.
Oh, good.
Because you only have one thumb. This is an issue unless maybe some people out there have two.
Maybe you could like wrap your index finger around and sort of do that.
If you know what, that's what I need 2 thumbs on each hand, and then this game will play a lot better. So also, as you mentioned, there's like the whole shooting range.
Yes.
And this is nice too. Because at your leisure, you get to really learn these guns.
Right.
You get to pick them up and you get to learn how to, I mean, shooting them is one thing, but learning how to reload them is a complete other story. You want to talk a little bit about reloading?
So here's the thing. I'm not going to like, it sounds like I'm going to harp on them for like, oh, they tried to make it too realistic and it's crap. It's like, no, I totally appreciate and kind of like the idea of, okay, I've got 9 rounds in this, in this particular weapon. I fire those 9, I'm out. I need to drop the clip, grab a new clip, put it in and go. That adds a nice level of, let's call it realism to the game, ideally. The problem is the collision detection. Actually, let's put a pin on this. With the smooth turning, can you smooth turn into objects? Because with the teleportation, you teleport into everything.
Yeah, you smooth turn right through walls and stuff.
Okay, all right.
It's crazy.
So it's not just... So, which is a symptom of a greater problem with collision detection in everything in this game. So the problem
is... It's a symptom of a greater problem this game has, period.
So let's take, one of the machine guns. So you finish, it's empty. You go ahead and kind of grab the clip. Dropping the clip isn't that hard because you just kind of put your hand near it and click and it sort of drops out.
Yeah.
The problem is when you go to reload it. Your ammo is in this nebulous area somewhere between your waist and your heart. So you just kind of like fish around and eventually, you come out with a clip. And then you have to put it home and, of course, into the weapon. The problem is there's no feedback, not even a little, buzz or something to let you know that, yes, you have it in your hand and, yes, it's lined up properly. So there'll be many times where you think you've put the clip in the weapon, you take your hand away and it just drops to the floor. And, the realism would have been fine if they put the effort into giving you the feedback you need to let you know that you've successfully completed the task. Yeah. If you're not going to do that effort, then just make it easy for me. Just, let me wave my hand near it. And that's like the simplest type of reloading. The worst, the worst offender is the belt-fed machine gun. But the worst offender you'll run into the most often, of course, is the sniper rifle. Yeah. Which is a bolt-action sniper, which means you fire your shot. You've got to draw that back the bolt, eject the spent cartridge, pick up, again, fumble around your chest to find that, line up the gun, the bullet in exactly the right orientation. You can't just kind of like put it halfway, which again...
This is a pain in the ass.
I admire the attempt at realism, but it doesn't let you know when you've got it right. And then you've got to slide the bolt back up. Yeah.
Yeah, reloading is very, very difficult. And actually one of the things they added on the February 16th patch version 1.02 was an optional ammo belt added to visualize the reload area. So you look down and it's very like, Arizona Sunshine where, hey, you have like a belt. Yeah. It didn't not help me reload anything. No. So I don't know. Maybe that helped some people out there. If it did, let me know. Like I said, I hadn't played this game since launch, and then I dove back in today to kind of get a better feel for, hey, what did the patch add? So if this actually helps somebody, please let us know in the comments. Another thing the patch added was the commander mode. The God mode when you're building your base. It allowed for movement. So you can actually like scroll around the area. Des is still sick.
Sorry,
he's still getting over pneumonia. Thank you for being here.
Oh, no problem.
And so it's almost mind-boggling that this feature, quote unquote, didn't exist in the original game because, as you were saying, like trying to like pick things up and you keep hitting yourself, like trying to drag things around. It was, if you can believe it, it was even worse when it first launched.
Yeah, and this reminds me of nothing more than for those of you who played Rick and Morty, how frustrating that is when you drop something.
Now, Justin Parole is going to hate this episode.
Sorry, man.
Justin Parole likes Out of Ammo, and Justin Parole likes Rick and Morty.
But it's okay because we like Justin Parole, so it all works.
I tolerate Justin Parole. I love you, dude.
But seriously, like you don't drop anything necessarily, but you've got a unit there, so then you've got to teleport or to some other place where you can see it. But with the aforementioned problems with the click turning and all that, it's more effort than it's worth to actually move yourself.
Yeah, it really is. And the only fun I'm sort of jumping the gun here and saying that ultimately this isn't a whole lot of fun, but the only fun I've ever found in this game was the multiplayer.
Okay.
And unfortunately, it's not even PvP. How great would it be if I was building a base and you were building a base, and it's 1 to 4 players.
Right.
So how cool would it be if you had this giant map and there were 4 bases and you sent troops to attack the other bases? This is a game I kind of want to play.
Yeah.
But instead, all 4 of you are hovering in God mode and getting down there in first-person mode and trying to defend the same base together. Right. It's fun, don't get me wrong, but it's not the kind of multiplayer I want from this game.
Right. And it's barely multiplayer. It's you're all kind of playing together as one player. But it does kind of bring me to one of the other points. All these problems aside, the general idea is kind of sound. Like, okay, I set up my units. If there's a problem there, I can dive into that unit, kind of take care of it, but sort of trust that the AI will be able to handle the problems that I'm not actively focused on, which you would need for your multiplayer thing there too. You'd need to be able to send a squad, and they don't. I mean, there was one situation where I had one of my soldiers behind sandbags aimed this way, and 3 enemy soldiers came up behind him and were just shooting him from the back. Yeah. This soldier had no targets in front of him, so he just decided, oh, okay, well, I'm being hit, but I'm not aimed that way, so I can't shoot. Yeah. You know, there's just all these little things here and there that add up to just a big old thing.
Yeah, there are good ideas. There are good ideas, and one of the good ideas that I really enjoy is that the longer you last, the more points you accrue. And in one of your hands, you're holding this pretty damn cool remote, and and the remote gives you 3 options for kind of like, you know, godlike powers, where like you can send a strike attack, you can actually
call for a mortar shell, sniper. Yeah,
right. So if you see a sniper like far away that none of your guys are going to be able to hit, you can just, your other hand can just become like a laser pointer, and poof, you can pick them off. Right. And it feels really good. You know, obviously these are limited amount of points that you get to use, so you save them for as long as possible. Yeah. But where this game really falls flat for me is basically no matter how long you play.
Oh yeah.
You never feel like you're accomplishing anything.
No, the game just gets harder in that it just throws more enemies at you. And, you know, they start from only one direction, then eventually they start coming from different directions, and more of them from different directions. And eventually, like, you know, armored vehicles start showing up. But, yeah, no, it's just more of the same over and over again until you either get bored or die.
You're not unlocking anything. You're not like, oh, you made it to wave 8, you unlocked a new character, or you unlocked a new level, or you unlocked a new skin. It's none of that. Instead, it's, hey, you made it to wave 8, try to make it to wave 9. And then once you finally like made it to wave 100, and then you die, you get back to the little base menu screen. Right. And there's nothing to show for it.
And now you can do the same thing at the docks.
There's some leaderboards for sure.
Yeah.
But that's it, man. And it's like, this doesn't feel like that kind of arcade game where you're like, I'm just doing this for points. I want to unlock stuff. I want to unlock different abilities. I want a progression bar that makes me always think that I'm contributing to something.
Right. And going back to, like, you know, old school real-time strategy, think your StarCraft, okay? You know, at least then you had the same basic units and the same basic gameplay, but they said, okay, this level, you need to gather this many resources, or this level, you need to keep this unit alive no matter what. Just some kind of gaminess to it. It's kind of like, it just felt like they came up with a basic idea and basic mechanics and stopped there. Yep. And like, oh, this is good enough.
And you were about to hit on this point before I interrupted you, but yeah, it's like the 8 locations you can play at. There's no variety. They look different. You can play in a desert, in a forest, in a mountain range. You can play in a city, in a harbor, but it doesn't fundamentally change the game at all. None of these locations add different challenges to the mix.
Right. The units are still the same. They're still the same mix of units.
Yeah. Nothing seems to change at all. So I'm like, well, it's great that they gave us some aesthetic differences, but it doesn't change the gameplay at all. So and that's what you're looking at, like when you choose what level. It's like, oh, I'm just going to pick up this. They call it survival mode. Yeah. Right. But survival mode's not actually the only type of gameplay here.
No, there are sort of scenarios where, you know,
they call them bonus missions.
Yeah, but again, it's kind of just the same gameplay, except this one you're just a sniper.
Yeah.
And you have to protect a group of 5 or 6 guys and keep them alive in order to get for them to get picked up.
Yeah, that one's called Overwatch.
Overwatch.
Yep. Which is way.
Yeah, do not get confused.
There's no way you could.
There's the hacker one.
That's called Vertigo.
Vertigo, right?
And this one's there's something interesting about this one where it's like you're in this like swanky apartment, right? And like there's a computer there,
right?
And you have to like put in the correct code.
Right.
There's only zeros and ones. Is that what it is? I can't remember.
Yeah, that sounds right. Yeah.
And so you're given a code, and so like these guys shooting at you, they come like swarming into the room, and you have to like kill them, and then run over to the computer within a limited amount of time, and get this big long 01110001110 code in, and you're taking your move controllers that are very very inaccurate. Let me say this.
Yeah.
So you have to be super careful, being like 0.
Well, I'd have to say so.
1.
Let's go back to Apex Contra.
1. Oh yeah, we can type it on a whole keyboard.
Right, and they use the same moves and
pretty well.
Works pretty darn well.
Yeah.
They did not. No.
Yeah, it's like you're
they didn't
bashing
share
it
notes
with your whole hand.
Yeah.
It's very strange. But the concept, again, is like this is kind of cool. Like this is a cool little mini game where like hey, you gave me something interesting to do. And actually, and that wasn't even my favorite mini game. My favorite bonus mission was called Icarus. And this is when
I played this one.
So it's very dark, and you realize very quickly that you just survived a plane crash.
Okay.
Okay, and there are like supplies scattered all about like this area, and so you find a flashlight, and then you find a gun, and you're scavenging the whole place for ammo.
Okay.
Right? And then the enemies realize that you're there.
Oh.
And so they start coming in from like all directions, and basically you're waiting for a helicopter to come save you. And so it's just for 10 minutes you have to like
just stay alive.
And I can't say it ever really gets hard. I've played through it 2 or 3 times, and I don't think I died any of those times.
Okay.
But the concept again is sound.
Yeah.
This is a cool idea, but that's sort of the MO of the entire game.
Yeah.
Here's a bunch of cool ideas, and I'm stealing your words, that we just never completed and made a game out of.
Yeah, and not only that, so you've got the basic problem of they never made a game out of it, but also there's just so many technical problems on top of it. Like there's one glitch that's happened to me at least 3 times, and if you guys are listening, you want to address this. Maybe it's just me, maybe it's my setup, there's something weird, but when you're in commander mode, the way you interact with your units is basically you click on the unit and this sort of disc-shaped menu pops up.
Yeah.
You do your thing and you go. Well, that didn't go away once. So I was like, oh, well, that's weird, but all right, weird glitchy thing. So then I dropped down into first-person view, and now there is a 30-foot tall disc blocking my view of half the battlefield. So it's like, okay, this is not great. And so now I can't actually aim or shoot because there's this disc there. So I end up moving my units around. It's like, all right, well, that's one weird glitchy thing. It happened 2 other times while I was playing.
I don't think this has ever happened to me.
Yeah.
But the fact that it happened to you 3 times
is really
disconcerting.
Weird. Yeah. And so with that, like the glitchiness of the collision detection with the weapons, and the fact it's either really poorly implemented AI or glitchiness with the AI that they can't hit the broadside of a barn. Yeah, it just leaves me feeling like this was like a pre-beta game. Yeah. And normally, like, our whole thing here is like, oh, we're going to review a game that's been out for a while and had some updates to make sure they have their best swing at it. And I feel like we're reviewing this game on day 1.
Yeah. This is definitely something that still needs a lot of work.
Yeah.
We didn't really discuss the graphics at all. The whole thing definitely looks like.
I'm willing to give the graphics a pass. Yeah. Because you could say it's a design. It's think just in time, Minecraft, that's sort of blocky. And hey, I am totally fine with that. Like, I'm going to say that's an artistic choice. Great, go with that.
I mean, and it's an artistic choice when you're working with a small development team, like say something like Sin Studios, who also made the Perfect Sniper, similar looking game. Just in Time Incorporated, as you mentioned, these are small studios that have limited resources. You can't make all the characters look realistic,
right?
And it's a design choice that sort of works, and
it's brilliant in Just in Time. It's fantastic.
Absolutely, and I think it works well enough here. I think this game, has a charming enough look, especially when you drop in the first person mode. I don't think commander mode looks especially good.
No,
you know, but it's functional. It's functional.
Yeah,
we'll call it that. I don't know, man. What do you think? Is it time to rate this?
Absolutely.
All right.
All right. So our rating scale is pretty simple. One is you have to buy this game. If you own a PSVR, this should be in your library. Heck, this is a reason to buy a PSVR. You need to have this game. Two, it's fine. You know, if it's on sale, go ahead and pick it up. If it's in a genre you particularly like, you may want to take a look at it. Maybe not for everyone, but we're not going to make fun of you for buying it. Three is no. No, no, no. Do not buy this game. We need to vote with our wallets. We deserve to be treated better than this. Friends don't let friends buy crap, etc. So, 1, 2, or 3, where would you put Out of Ammo?
You know, you weren't here last week, but I gave Bravo Team a really weak 2.
A week 2?
Really, like the weakest 2 I've ever given. I said, and I've had a lot of time to think about that statement since last week.
Yeah.
And I kind of want to make an addendum here. Man, I think Bravo Team's a really strong 3. I don't think I've ever changed my rating over the course of a week, but yeah, no, I don't love Bravo Team, and I don't love Out of Ammo. Out of Ammo is lots of great ideas that, like, if you wrote all this down and you said, Brian, this sounds like a game that you want to play, like, take a look at it. See, it really does seem like a game I want to play. And then I play it and I just feel the whole experience feels so unrewarding. I want my multiplayer in this type of game to be PvP. Like, you know, like when I drop in the Corks and play that, I want to play multiplayer against somebody. Right. You know, I want to build up my base and then go attack the crap out of somebody else. Right. I don't want to, like, build base up with somebody else. This doesn't feel like a co-op kind of game.
Or even I could see, like, you and your friend playing against the same wave, but different scores. Like whoever wipes out more of the enemy or something. Yeah. Maybe? I don't know.
Yeah, and just to top it all off, the controls are really, it's as if these guys, it's as if Rocketworks hasn't actually played any other PSVR games, and that's always a warning sign when you go, hey, you know what? Over the course of the last almost 2 years, we've experimented and we've sort of settled on, like, this cool movement system that works in pretty much every game, and it would have worked in this game as well. But they kind of bucked the trend and said, "Oh, we got something better." Yeah, and let me tell you, it's not better.
And I want to point out too, we don't do this very often, but this is a port. Okay, so maybe the problem was coming to PSVR, maybe, and that's not the case. If you look up its reviews on Vive, it's got the same issues there as well. So it's not like it worked perfectly fine on PC, but that janky PSVR messed it up. It's like, no, it had the same problems from the get go. Yeah.
I'm sorry, I'm giving it a 3.
Yep.
And for the basic reasons that it's not done. And, like, if this got a few more patches and it addressed some of the issues we had, it could easily be a 2 for me. Yeah. But those things haven't happened yet.
Yeah. Mine is pretty obvious at this point. I'm also going for a 3. I'm a pretty strong 3 on this. You know, I've come out a lot lately, both on social media and a few times here, about sort of like trying to pump the brakes on this gamer entitlement, especially once E3 came around. I was like, oh, we deserve better. It's like, no, you don't deserve better. You don't really deserve anything. You know, you can pay for products that come out, but it's not like they owe you anything. I'm going to change that. We deserve better. Yeah. This is just simply not finished. You know, I have a hard time rating this game because it's just like, no, they're not done yet. They may think they're done, but they're not done. And as consumers, if they're saying, this is our finished product, we want you to play, we deserve better than what they gave us here. This is just simply not a finished game. Yeah. So it's a 3. Maybe we can revisit it in a year, but honestly, it's been this long and they haven't fixed the glaring problems. I can't see a future where this has changed drastically.
Yeah, I mean, it came out January 30th, and then the last patch we got was February 16th.
Yeah.
Like, oh, so 2 weeks after you launched, that was your last attempt at a fix. You know, we see a lot of times, and to give the benefit of the doubt to the developer, we see a lot of times when a game as good as like Pred and Dead Rising, you know, that offers so much gameplay and quality gameplay that we absolutely love. You know, when we find out that from the developers that it only sold 2,000 copies, that's a game we loved, right? So when a game like Out of Ammo comes along that like we review pretty unfavorably, I can only imagine how many copies it sold. And so how much love is the developer really going to put into it to patch the crap out of a game that only 1,000 people bought?
Well, if it wasn't that bad, it would have sold more copies.
Yeah, well,
you know, it's again, on paper, you describe this game to me, and I'm like, I'm on board.
Yeah, for
you
sure.
know, but the proof is in the pudding, and it's not. It didn't work out, and my analogy just crashed and burned. So okay,
do you know that it's time for pizza?
It's always time for pizza.
That's right. So we're going to get out of here because it's time for pizza. We want the same thing as we always want from you in the comments, Justin Parole. Let us know what you think of this game.
Just you. Nobody else, just Justin.
Everyone else is going to be muted, silenced, because we only care about what Justin Parole thinks of this game. No, we want to hear what all of you guys think of this game. Obviously, you know, it's a $15 game.
Yeah.
No, trust me, I'm with you on this. I'm totally with you on this. And I think some people can rationalize that, like, hey, it's not a AAA game. It's not a full featured game, and it's definitely came out at a budget price.
Game.
It came out at a budget price. So different people have different expectations of games set at different price points.
Sure.
Which is why I want to know what these guys think of Out of Ammo.
I have no problem with a budget title not being full featured.
Same.
This is just broken.
It's just not a full game yet. Yep. So what did you guys think of it? Also, we want to know what other games you want us to talk about. We've got a list forming, but we're more than happy to add to that list.
Yep.
All right, that pretty much does it for another episode. So for another episode of, you know, I really got to get this down at some point. I'm Brian Paul.
No one's watching at this point anyways.
Probably not.
I'm Desra.
We'll see you next week.